Dr. Lisa Morgan stared at the strange symbols glowing on her computer screen. She had been working on this alien artifact for 3 weeks now, but the genetic patterns made no sense. The metal object was small, about the size of her hand, but it contained more genetic information than she had ever seen before. "Still working late?" asked a soft voice behind her. Lisa turned to see Zara Keth walking into the lab. The tall alien woman moved with grace, her blue skin shimmering under the bright laboratory lights. Zara Keth was from the Veltar species, known throughout the galaxy as the Great Record Keepers. They remembered everything and wrote down the history of every species they met. "I can't figure this out," Lisa said, pointing at her screen. "These genetic codes are so complex. They look almost like human DNA, but much more advanced." Zara Keth walked closer and looked at the screen. Her large eyes grew wide with surprise. She studied the patterns for a long moment, then her face went pale. "Where did you find this?" Zara Keth asked quietly. "In the ruins on Kepler 442. "Why? Do you recognize it?" Zara Keth sat down heavily in the chair next to Lisa. Her hands were shaking. "I need to check something in our archives. This is very important." Lisa had never seen her alien friend act this way before. Zara Keth was always calm and controlled. Now she looked scared. "What is it? What's wrong?" "Give me a few hours," Zara Keth said. "I need to be sure before I tell you anything." Zara Keth left the lab quickly, leaving Lisa alone with her questions. Lisa looked back at the genetic patterns on her screen. They were beautiful in a way, like a complex dance of life written in code. But what did they mean? The next morning, Zara Keth returned to the lab. She looked like she had not slept all night. Her usually perfect appearance was messy and her eyes were red. "Lisa," she said, "what I'm about to tell you will change everything you know about humans." Lisa put down her coffee cup. "What do you mean?" Zara Keth activated a holographic display. Images of genetic structures appeared in the air between them. "These patterns you found, they're not just similar to human DNA. They are the original human genetic template." "Original template? I don't understand." 50,000 years ago, there was a group of species called the Prime Strand. They were the most advanced beings in the galaxy. They had long lives, powerful minds, and abilities that seemed like magic to other species. Humans were part of this group. Lisa laughed. "That's impossible. Humans are one of the youngest species in the galaxy. We've only been in space for a few hundred years." "That's what everyone believes," Zara Keth said sadly. "But it's not true. The Hegemony Coalition made sure of that." "The Coalition? But they're the galactic government. They help younger species develop." Zara Keth shook her head. "The Coalition was formed by species who were jealous of the Prime Strand. They couldn't match their abilities, so they decided to destroy them instead." The hologram changed to show star charts and historical records. Zara Keth pointed to different systems as she spoke. One by one, the Coalition attacked the Prime Strand species. Some were wiped out completely, others were scattered across the galaxy. But humans were different. The Coalition had a special plan for them. "What kind of plan?" "They trapped your ancestors on Earth and changed their genetic code. They removed the advanced abilities and shortened human lifespans. They wanted to keep humans alive but weak, so they could never threaten Coalition power again." Lisa felt sick. "You're saying humans were once as advanced as the other galactic powers?" "More advanced," Zara Keth said. "The genetic template you found shows that original humans could live for thousands of years. They could heal from almost any injury. They could speak to each other across vast distances with their minds. They could even survive in space without protective suits." "But why are you telling me this? What does it matter now?" Zara Keth's expression became determined. "Because the genetic changes weren't permanent. The Coalition thought they were, but they made a mistake. They didn't understand human genetics well enough. The advanced abilities are still there, hidden in your DNA. They just need to be awakened." "Awakened? How?" "Through careful breeding with species that carry the right genetic keys. Species like mine." Lisa stared at her friend. "You want to breed with humans?" "Not just me. My entire species carries genetic markers that can unlock human potential. We can help restore what was stolen from your people." "This is crazy," Lisa said. "Even if what you're saying is true, how do we know it will work?" Zaraketh smiled for the first time since entering the lab. "Because I've already started testing the theory. Dr. Ben Carter has been helping me run genetic compatibility test. His DNA shows the strongest traces of the original prime strand markers." Lisa knew Ben Carter. He was a quiet geneticist who worked in the lab down the hall. "Ben knows about this. I told him yesterday. He's agreed to help with the first trial." "First trial of what?" "The restoration process. If I'm right, any children born from the union of a Veltar and a human with the right genetic markers will have enhanced abilities. They'll be the first step in returning humanity to its true potential." Lisa felt overwhelmed. Everything she thought she knew about human history was wrong. Her species had been the victims of an ancient conspiracy, but now there was hope for something better. "What about the coalition?" she asked. "If they find out what you're doing, won't they try to stop you?" Zaraketh's expression darkened. "That's why we need to be careful. The coalition still monitors human development. If they discover that humans are regaining their abilities, they'll try to destroy your species completely this time." At that moment, the lab door opened. Commander Jake Sullivan walked in, his military uniform crisp and his expression serious. "Dr. Morgan, I need to speak with you about your recent research activities." Lisa looked at Zaraketh, who quickly turned off the holographic display. "Commander Sullivan, this is just routine genetic analysis." Jake looked between the two women suspiciously. "I've been monitoring unusual energy readings from this lab, and I've heard reports of unauthorized access to historical databases." "I can explain," Zaraketh began. "I'm sure you can," Jake said. "But first I need to know if there's any threat to station security or human personnel." Lisa made a quick decision. If Zaraketh was right about human potential, they would need allies, and Jake Sullivan was someone who truly cared about protecting humanity. "Commander," she said, "I think you need to see what we've discovered, but you're not going to believe it." Commander Jake Sullivan sat in stunned silence as Lisa and Zaraketh finished explaining everything. The holographic displays showed him the evidence of the ancient conspiracy against humanity. His hands gripped the edge of the table so tightly, his knuckles turned white. "You're telling me that my entire species has been living a lie for 50,000 years?" Jake asked slowly. "Yes," Zaraketh replied. "Your people were meant to be so much more than they are now." Jake stood up and began, pacing around the lab. "And you think you can fix this by having children with humans?" "It's not that simple," Zaraketh explained. "The genetic restoration must be done carefully. I need to find humans who carry the strongest traces of the original prime strand markers. Then, through selective breeding over several generations, we can slowly awaken the dormant abilities." "How do you know it will work?" Jake demanded. Dr. Ben Carter walked into the lab at that moment carrying a datapad full of test results. His usually neat hair was messy, and he looked excited. "Because we've already run the preliminary tests," Ben said. "Zaraketh analyzed my genetic structure yesterday. I have some of the strongest prime strand markers she's ever seen in a human." Lisa looked surprised. "Ben, I didn't know you were involved in this." "Zaraketh approached me 3 days ago," Ben explained. "At first I thought she was crazy, but then she showed me the genetic evidence. Everything makes sense now. Why humans adapt so quickly to new environments. Why we're so creative and stubborn. Why we never give up, even when the odds are against us. Those are remnants of your original abilities," Zaraketh added. "Your species has been fighting against the genetic suppression for thousands of years. That's why humans have spread across the galaxy so quickly, despite being considered a young species." Jake stopped pacing and looked directly at Zaraketh. "What exactly are you proposing?" "I want to begin the restoration process immediately. Ben has agreed to be the first volunteer. If our calculations are correct, any children born from our union will have enhanced abilities far beyond normal humans." "And what if you're wrong?" Jake asked. "What if this backfires somehow?" Then humanity remains as it is now, Zaraketh said simply. But if I'm right, your species will begin to reclaim its birthright. Lisa had been quiet during this exchange, but now she spoke up. There's something else. I've been analyzing more artifacts from the Kepler 442 site. I found records showing that several human colony ships were sabotaged or redirected over the past few centuries. She activated her computer and showed them star charts. Look at this pattern. Every time humans tried to establish colonies in resource-rich systems, something went wrong. Ships disappeared, navigation systems failed, or the colonists encountered unexpected problems. The coalition has been actively limiting human expansion, Ben realized. They're still trying to keep us contained. Which means they're still afraid of what humans might become, Zaraketh said. That gives me hope that the restoration process will work. Jake made his decision. What do you need from me? Protection and secrecy, Zaraketh replied. The coalition has surveillance networks throughout human space. If they discover what we're doing, they'll try to stop us. I can provide security for your research, Jake said, but I want to be kept informed of everything. If this affects human safety, I need to know. Over the next few weeks, Zaraketh and Ben began their work together. They established a secret laboratory in the lower levels of the research station, away from the main monitoring systems. Lisa helped by providing genetic analysis equipment and covering for their absences. The process was not just about reproduction. Zaraketh used advanced Veltar medical techniques to carefully introduce genetic markers into Ben's system. She explained that this would prepare his body for the changes that would come. It's like awakening sleeping parts of your DNA, she told him during one of their sessions. The coalition suppressed these abilities, but they couldn't remove them completely. They're still there waiting. Ben began to notice changes almost immediately. His reflexes became faster. His memory improved dramatically. He could solve complex genetic problems that would have taken him hours before. This is incredible, he told Lisa one day. I feel like my brain is working at full capacity for the first time in my life. But their activities did not go unnoticed. Agent Thex-9, a coalition investigator, had been monitoring unusual genetic research activities throughout human space. The energy signatures from the secret laboratory caught his attention. Thex-9 was not human. He belonged to a species called the Kethvar, who had served the coalition for thousands of years. They were known for their ability to detect genetic anomalies and their ruthless efficiency in eliminating threats to coalition power. Something is happening at Research Station Kepler 442, Thex-9 reported to his superiors. The energy readings suggest advanced genetic manipulation techniques. This is beyond normal human capabilities. Investigate immediately, came the reply. If humans are developing enhanced abilities, we need to know about it. Meanwhile, Zaraketh received wonderful news. Her medical scans confirmed that she was pregnant with Ben's child. The genetic analysis of the developing baby showed remarkable results. The child has abilities we didn't even hope for, she told the group excitedly. Enhanced cognitive function, improved immune system, and something else, something I've never seen before. What is it? Lisa asked. The baby seems to have a natural ability to interface with electronic systems. Even in the womb, it's responding to computer signals in ways that shouldn't be possible. Ben was amazed. You mean the baby can communicate with computers? It's more than that, Zaraketh explained. The child appears to have an intuitive understanding of how electronic systems work. This could be a completely new ability that emerges when human and Veltar genetics combine. Dr. Amy Watson, another geneticist on the station, became interested in their work. She had been studying human genetic variations for years and noticed the unusual activity in Lisa's lab. I want to help, Amy told them. I've always believed that humans had greater potential than anyone realized. If there's a way to unlock that potential, I want to be part of it. Zaraketh analyzed Amy's genetic structure and found that she also carried strong prime strand markers. You would be an excellent candidate for the restoration process, she told Amy. Then let's do it, Amy replied without hesitation. As word spread quietly among the research staff, more humans volunteered to participate. Captain Roy Evans, a transport pilot who regularly visited the station, became intrigued by the project. "I've traveled all over the galaxy," Roy said. "I've seen how other species treat humans, like we're children who need to be protected and guided. If there's a way to change that, count me in." But time was running out. Thex-9's ship was approaching the station, and Jake's security sensors detected the Coalition vessel. "We have a problem," Jake announced during one of their secret meetings. "A Coalition investigator is requesting permission to dock. He says he's conducting routine inspections, but I don't believe it." "How long do we have?" Zaraketh asked. "Maybe 6 hours before he arrives. We need to hide all evidence of the genetic work," Lisa said. "And we need to protect Zaraketh and the baby." "No," Zaraketh said firmly. "If we hide now, we'll never get another chance. The Coalition will be watching too closely." "Then what do you suggest?" Ben asked. Zaraketh smiled with determination. "We accelerate the program. We start the genetic awakening process with as many volunteers as possible before the investigator arrives. If he finds enhanced humans, it will be too late for him to stop what we've started." "That's incredibly risky," Jake warned. "Everything worth doing is risky," Zaraketh replied. "But this is our chance to give humanity back its future. We can't waste it." The secret laboratory on Titan was hidden deep inside an old mining facility. Zaraketh had chosen this location carefully. The natural radiation from Saturn's moon would interfere with Coalition scanning equipment, making it harder for them to detect the genetic research happening inside. 3 months had passed since Agent Thex-9's visit to Research Station Kepler 442. Jake Sullivan had managed to fool the investigator by showing him fake research data, but it had been a close call. Now their operation had moved to this much safer location. Zaraketh's baby with Ben Carter had been born 2 weeks ago. The child, named David, was unlike any human baby ever seen before. His eyes were bright blue like his mother's, but he had human features. Even at such a young age, David showed remarkable abilities. "Watch this," Ben said to Lisa as they stood over the baby's crib. He placed a small electronic device near David's hand. The device immediately began glowing and making soft musical sounds. "He's making it work just by being near it," Lisa said in amazement. "The device doesn't even have batteries. David seems to generate some kind of energy field," Dr. Amy Watson explained. She had been studying the baby's abilities since his birth. He can power simple electronics and even communicate with computer systems. Amy was now pregnant too. Her relationship with Zaraketh had produced fascinating results. The genetic scans of her unborn child showed even stronger abilities than David. "The second generation is showing improvements over the first," Zaraketh explained to the growing group of researchers and volunteers. "Each child born from the human-Veltar combination has enhanced abilities beyond what we expected." Captain Roy Evans was also part of the program now. His child with Zaraketh had been born just days after David. The little girl, named Emma, could already crawl much faster than normal babies and seemed to understand spoken language far better than she should at her age. "Emma responded to verbal commands today," Roy reported during one of their weekly meetings. "I told her to pick up a toy and she did it. She's only 2 weeks old." "The children are developing at an accelerated rate," Ben observed. "Not just physically, but mentally too." David recognized his own reflection in a mirror yesterday. Most human babies don't do that until they're much older. But the most remarkable discovery came when Lisa was analyzing the children's brain activity. She found that David, Emma, and the other enhanced babies were somehow connected to each other. "They're communicating," she announced excitedly to the group. "Watch the brain scan patterns when I put David and Emma in the same room." The screen showed synchronized brain waves between the two babies. When David became excited, Emma's brain activity increased too, even though she was across the room and couldn't see him. "They're sharing thoughts?" Amy asked in disbelief. "It's more like they're part of the same network," Lisa explained. "Like computers connected to the same system. They can sense each other's emotions and maybe even share simple ideas." This discovery led to an important breakthrough. Zaraketh realized that the children might be able to communicate with other enhanced humans over long distances, not just each other. If this ability continues to develop, she said, these children could coordinate activities across entire star systems. They would never truly be alone, no matter how far apart they are. The research facility grew larger as more humans joined the program. Dr. Pete Williams, a brilliant geneticist from Earth, arrived with valuable research data about human genetic variations across different colonies. I've been studying human populations throughout the galaxy, Pete explained. Some families have much stronger traces of the original prime strand markers than others. If we focus on these bloodlines, we can accelerate the restoration process. Pete brought with him genetic samples from dozens of human colonies. Many of these samples showed promising compatibility with Veltar genetics. We need to expand the program, Zaraketh decided. The more enhanced children we can create, the stronger humanity will become. General Kate Morrison, a high-ranking human military officer, became their most important ally. She had been secretly investigating coalition activities for years and was not surprised to learn about the genetic suppression conspiracy. I always suspected something was wrong, Kate told them during a secure communication from her ship. Human military forces are always held back from important missions. We're treated like junior partners, even though our soldiers are often the bravest and most effective. Kate provided them with military protection and helped establish secure communication networks between different research sites. She also began identifying human military personnel who carried strong prime strand genetic markers. We need enhanced humans in positions of power, she explained. If the coalition discovers what we're doing, we'll need people who can fight back. The enhanced children continued to develop at an amazing rate. By the time David was 6 months old, he could walk steadily and speak simple words. More importantly, he could make complex electronic devices work just by touching them. Emma showed different abilities. She seemed to have an intuitive understanding of mechanical systems. She could fix broken toys and devices without any training, as if she instinctively knew how they were supposed to work. The third child, born to Dr. Amy Watson, was named Kevin. His abilities were the most remarkable yet. Kevin could influence the behavior of artificial intelligence systems. When Amy placed him near a computer running AI software, the program began responding to his presence. Kevin is somehow communicating directly with the AI, Amy reported. The computer systems become more efficient and responsive when he's nearby. This could change everything, Pete Williams said. If enhanced humans can control artificial intelligence, they'll have an enormous advantage over any species that relies on automated systems. But their success was attracting dangerous attention. Agent Thex-9 had not given up his investigation. He had been monitoring energy signatures throughout human space and noticed unusual patterns near Titan. There are genetic manipulation activities happening in the Saturn system, Thex-9 reported to his coalition superiors. The energy readings are similar to what I detected at the research station, but much stronger. How much stronger? Asked Counselor Vex Prime, the coalition leader responsible for monitoring human development. At least 10 times more powerful, Thex-9 replied. Whatever they're doing, it's much more advanced than we initially thought. Counselor Vex Prime felt a chill of fear. The coalition had spent thousands of years keeping humanity suppressed. If humans were truly beginning to regain their original abilities, it could threaten the entire galactic power structure. Prepare a strike force, Vex Prime ordered. We need to eliminate this threat before it spreads. Meanwhile, on Titan, Lisa made a disturbing discovery while analyzing coalition communication intercepts that Jake had obtained through his military contacts. They know something, she warned the group. Coalition ships have been moving toward this system. They're not just investigating anymore, they're preparing for military action. How long do we have? Zaraketh asked. Maybe 2 weeks, Jake replied grimly. My sources say there's a coalition battle fleet assembling near the outer planets. Then, we need to accelerate everything, General Kate Morrison decided. We need to get the enhanced children and the research data to safety. Where can we go? Ben asked. The coalition controls most of the galaxy. Not all of it, Roy Evans said with a smile. I know some places where coalition ships never go. Hidden colonies and independent systems that don't recognize coalition authority. We also need to start awakening abilities in adult humans, Zaraketh announced. The children are wonderful, but we need enhanced adults who can fight back if necessary. Lisa had been working on this problem for months. I think I've found a way to trigger genetic awakening in adults who carry prime strand markers. It's riskier than the breeding program, but it could work. How risky? Amy asked. Some subjects might not survive the process, Lisa admitted, but those who do will gain enhanced abilities within days instead of waiting for the next generation to be born. I'll volunteer, Jake said immediately. My genetic tests show strong prime strand markers. So will I, added Pete Williams. And me, Roy Evans said. Zaraketh looked at all the brave humans who were willing to risk their lives for their species' future. Then we begin the adult awakening process tomorrow. We don't have time to wait any longer. Outside, coalition ships. We're moving closer to Saturn. The final confrontation between humanity's past and future was about to begin. The adult awakening process began at dawn. Jake Sullivan was the first volunteer to undergo the genetic activation procedure. He lay on the medical table while Zaraketh prepared the injection that would trigger his dormant abilities. This will feel like your entire body is on fire, she warned him. The genetic changes happen very quickly, and your nervous system needs to adapt to new capabilities. Jake nodded and rolled up his sleeve. I've been through worse. Lisa monitored his vital signs as Zaraketh administered the injection. Within minutes, Jake began sweating heavily. His heart rate increased dramatically, and his brain activity spiked on the monitoring equipment. Something's happening, Lisa said, watching the readings carefully. Jake's eyes suddenly snapped open. They were glowing with a faint blue light, similar to Zaraketh's natural eye color. He sat up on the table and looked around the room with amazing focus. I can see everything, he whispered. Every detail, every energy pattern, and I can hear voices? What voices? Ben asked. The children, David and Emma. They're talking, to me in my mind. Dr. Pete Williams was next. His transformation was even more dramatic. After receiving the injection, Pete's entire body began glowing with a soft golden light. When the glow faded, he could move objects with his thoughts and calculate complex equations instantly in his head. The mathematical relationships are so clear now, Pete said in amazement. I can see how genetic patterns connect across entire populations. Captain Roy Evans underwent the process third. His enhancement gave him incredible speed and reflexes. He could move so fast that he seemed to disappear and reappear in different parts of the room. This is incredible, Roy said, moving between locations almost instantly. I feel like I could pilot a ship through an asteroid field with my eyes closed. But their success was interrupted by urgent news from General Kate Morrison. Her voice came through the secure communication system with barely controlled panic. Coalition forces are moving toward Earth, she announced. They're not just coming for your research facility. They're planning to attack human colonies throughout the galaxy. The enhanced adults immediately felt the danger through their new mental connections. They could sense the fear and confusion of humans on distant worlds as coalition ships appeared in their skies. How many ships? Jake asked, his enhanced senses already detecting the approaching threat. Over 200 vessels, Kate replied. This isn't an investigation anymore, it's an invasion. Zaraketh's face went pale. They've decided to eliminate humanity completely rather than risk genetic restoration spreading. We need to warn Earth, Lisa said. Earth already knows, Amy Watson reported from her monitoring station. Coalition ships are broadcasting a message to all human colonies. They're saying that humans have been infected by alien genetics and must be quarantined. Dr. Pete Williams used his enhanced analytical abilities to study the coalition's attack patterns. They're targeting colonies with the largest populations first. They want to eliminate as many humans as possible before anyone can organize resistance. Can't the human military fight back? Ben asked. General Kate's voice came through the communicator again. Human military forces are being recalled to defensive positions around Earth. But our weapons are designed with coalition technology. If they have override codes, they could disable our entire fleet. This revelation shocked everyone. The Coalition had not just suppressed human genetics. They had also made sure that human military technology depended on systems they could control. We're completely defenseless, Jake realized. No, Zaraketh said firmly. The enhanced children might be our answer. She led them to the nursery where David, Emma, and Kevin were playing together. Despite being only months old, the children seemed to understand that something serious was happening. Little David crawled over to a computer terminal and placed his hands on it. The screen immediately lit up with complex data displays showing Coalition ship movements throughout the galaxy. He's accessing military databases, Lisa said in disbelief. A 6-month-old baby is hacking into secure Coalition networks. Emma joined her brother at the terminal. Together they began manipulating the data streams. Coalition ships started experiencing navigation failures and communication breakdowns. The children are sabotaging Coalition technology, Amy realized. They're turning the Coalition's own systems against them. But Kevin's ability was the most remarkable. The infant boy looked directly at the main computer system and made soft babbling sounds. Suddenly, every artificial intelligence program in the facility activated simultaneously. Kevin is waking up all the AI systems, Pete observed. And they're obeying him. The AI systems began working together in ways their programmers never intended. They started breaking into Coalition networks across the galaxy, disabling weapons systems and confusing navigation computers. General Kate's voice came through the communicator with excitement. Something's happening to the Coalition fleet near Earth. Their ships are losing power and drifting off course. The children are doing that, Zaraketh explained proudly. They're using AI networks to fight back against the invasion. But the Coalition response was swift and brutal. Agent Thex-9 had figured out that the interference was coming from Titan. Coalition bioweapons were already on their way to the research facility. We have incoming missiles, Jake announced, his enhanced senses detecting the approaching weapons. They're carrying some kind of biological payload. Bioweapons designed to target enhanced human genetics, Zaraketh said grimly. If those weapons hit the facility, they'll kill everyone with awakened abilities. How long do we have? Roy asked. Maybe 20 minutes, Jake replied. Lisa worked frantically at her computer station. I need to finish the genetic cure. If we can broadcast the awakening signal to all humans simultaneously, the Coalition won't be able to kill everyone. How do we broadcast to the entire galaxy? Ben asked. Pete Williams had the answer. The communication networks that the children are controlling through the AI systems, we can use them to send the genetic activation signal to every human colony at once. But that means exposing every human to the same risks as the adult awakening process, Amy warned. Some people might not survive. It's better than letting the entire species be wiped out, Jake decided. Zaraketh made the final preparations. The awakening signal needs to be combined with my genetic markers to work properly. I'll have to broadcast part of my own DNA pattern along with the activation code. That could kill you, Lisa protested. If it saves humanity, it's worth the risk. Dr. Pete Williams sacrificed himself to ensure the broadcast would reach every human settlement. He manually overrode the safety systems that were preventing the signal from reaching distant colonies, knowing that the feedback would destroy his enhanced nervous system. Tell my family what we accomplished here, Pete said to the others as he initiated the broadcast sequence. The genetic awakening signal spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On Earth, humans suddenly felt strange sensations as their dormant abilities began activating. On colony worlds, people discovered they could move objects with their minds, heal from injuries instantly, or communicate telepathically across vast distances. Captain Roy Evans led a desperate defense of the research facility while the broadcast continued. His enhanced speed allowed him to intercept several incoming bioweapons, but more were coming. The signal is reaching colonies in the outer rim, Lisa reported. Humans everywhere are beginning to awaken. Coalition forces are reporting massive failures in their control systems, General Kate announced from her ship. Enhanced humans are taking control of Coalition technology throughout the galaxy. But the research facility was still in danger. The bioweapons were designed specifically to kill anyone with Veltar genetic markers, which meant they would destroy Zaraketh and all the enhanced children. Jake Sullivan made a crucial decision. Using his enhanced abilities, he created a protective energy field around the nursery, just as the bioweapons struck the facility. The weapons destroyed most of the research equipment and killed several volunteers, but the children and Zaraketh survived inside Jake's protective barrier. The awakening is complete, Zaraketh announced weakly. Humans throughout the galaxy now have access to their true genetic heritage. And they're using it, Amy added, monitoring communications from across human space. Enhanced humans are coordinating resistance efforts and taking control of Coalition ships. The tide of battle was turning. What had begun as a Coalition attempt to destroy humanity was becoming humanity's liberation from 50,000 years of genetic suppression. But the war was not over yet. Counselor Vex Prime still had one final desperate plan to maintain Coalition power. The genetic awakening spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On Earth, millions of humans suddenly discovered they could think faster, move quicker, and sense things they never imagined before. The transformation was happening everywhere at once. Dr. Lisa Morgan watched the global communications network as reports flooded in from every human colony. People are awakening on Mars, Europa, Alpha Centauri, everywhere, she announced excitedly. The signal reached them all. In the nursery, little David stood up on his own, despite being only 6 months old. His eyes glowed brighter than before, as he connected his mind to communication systems across the entire galaxy. Through him, all the awakened humans could suddenly hear each other's thoughts. "We are one people," David said in a clear voice that sounded far too mature for his age. "We are connected across all the stars." Emma and Kevin joined him, their combined abilities creating a network that linked every enhanced human. Suddenly, millions of people could coordinate their actions perfectly, sharing knowledge and abilities instantly. On the Coalition flagship near Earth, Counselor Vex Prime watched in horror as his invasion fleet lost control of their own ships. Enhanced humans were taking over Coalition technology faster than his forces could respond. "How is this possible?" Vex Prime demanded from his bridge. Humans were supposed to be weak and primitive. Agent Thex 9 stood beside him, his confidence shaken for the first time in years. "They're not the same species we've been monitoring. Something has changed their fundamental nature." "Then we use the final option," Vex Prime declared. "Activate the Galactic Cleansing Protocol." Thex 9 stepped back in shock. "You can't be serious. That protocol will destroy entire star systems." "Better to lose some systems than lose control of the entire galaxy," Vex Prime replied coldly. The Cleansing Protocol was the Coalition's most desperate weapon. It would cause selected stars to explode, destroying everything in their systems. Vex Prime planned to detonate the stars closest to major human populations, wiping out billions of people at once. But the enhanced humans sensed the danger immediately. Through their shared consciousness, they knew exactly what the Coalition was planning. General Kate Morrison coordinated the human response from her command ship. Her own abilities had awakened during the global broadcast, giving her tactical insights beyond anything she had experienced before. "All enhanced humans with technical abilities, focus on the star destabilization devices," she commanded through the mental network. "We have to stop them from destroying our home systems." Captain Roy Evans used his incredible speed to infiltrate Coalition ships throughout the fleet. He moved so fast that security systems couldn't track him, allowing him to disable weapons and capture key personnel. Jake Sullivan, despite his injuries from protecting the children, joined the mental coordination effort. His enhanced senses could detect Coalition ships trying to hide behind planetary shields or in asteroid fields. "I found their command center," Jake announced through the network. "Vex Prime is on the largest ship near Jupiter." But it was the children who provided the most crucial assistance. David, Emma, and Kevin combined their abilities to take direct control of Coalition artificial intelligence systems. Every automated defense, every computer-guided weapon, every navigation system suddenly belonged to them. "The machines obey us. Now," little Emma announced in her sweet voice. The bad people cannot hurt anyone anymore. Coalition ships began turning their weapons on each other as their AI systems switched sides. Navigation computers sent vessels into dangerous orbits around planets. Communication systems broadcast the truth about the genetic suppression conspiracy to every species in the galaxy. Dr. Amy Watson, monitoring the situation from the damaged Titan facility, made an incredible discovery. "It's not just humans awakening," she reported. "I'm detecting similar genetic activation in other species throughout the galaxy." Zara Keth, weakened but alive, smiled as she understood what was happening. The genetic suppression wasn't limited to humans. The Coalition suppressed abilities in dozens of species. The awakening signal is affecting all of them. Across the galaxy, species that had served the Coalition for thousands of years suddenly remembered their true heritage. The Kethvar, Thex-9's own people, discovered they had once been powerful telepaths before Coalition genetic manipulation. The Vortai remembered their ability to manipulate gravity. The Sylvan regained their power to phase through solid matter. "We have been slaves to our own limitations," declared a Kethvar commander as his ship joined the rebellion against the Coalition. "No more." The uprising spread to hundreds of worlds. Species that had never questioned Coalition authority suddenly realized they had been victims of the same genetic conspiracy that had targeted humans. Counselor Vex Prime found himself surrounded by rebel ships, many of them crewed by his own former allies. His plan to destroy human star systems was falling apart as his own people turned against him. "You don't understand," Vex Prime broadcast desperately. "The genetic restrictions were necessary to maintain order. Without them, the galaxy will fall into chaos. Order built on lies and suppression is not worth maintaining," replied General Kate Morrison as human and alien ships surrounded the Coalition flagship. Dr. Ben Carter, his abilities now fully awakened, led a team to capture the star destabilization devices. His enhanced intelligence allowed him to understand and disable the complex technology that could have destroyed entire solar systems. "The devices are shut down," Ben announced. "Human colonies are safe." The final confrontation came when Captain Roy Evans reached the Coalition flagship's bridge. Moving faster than the eye could follow, he disarmed Vex Prime's guards and stood before the Coalition leader. "Your reign is over," Roy said simply. Vex Prime looked around at his defeated fleet and the galaxy in rebellion. "You've doomed yourselves. Without central control, the galaxy will tear itself apart." "We'll see," Roy replied. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed completely. The Coalition government dissolved as species after species reclaimed their genetic heritage and demanded freedom. A new Galactic Council was formed, with representatives from every awakened species working together as equals. Zara Keth established the Institute for Genetic Liberation on Earth, helping species throughout the galaxy recover their suppressed abilities. Her children grew rapidly, becoming leaders in the new galactic community despite their young age. Dr. Lisa Morgan became the galaxy's first director of historical truth, documenting the real history of genetic suppression and ensuring that such conspiracies could never happen again. Jake Sullivan served as Earth's first ambassador to the new Galactic Council, using his enhanced diplomatic abilities to help forge alliances between species that had been enemies for millennia. Ben Carter and Amy Watson founded the Center for Genetic Research, developing ways to safely awaken dormant abilities in species that had been suppressed for so long that they had forgotten their true nature. The enhanced human children continued to grow and develop, their abilities becoming stronger with each passing day. They served as living bridges between species, able to communicate with any form of life they encountered. "We are no longer separated by the barriers that once divided us," little David announced during a gathering of galactic leaders. "We are one community sharing the stars together." Zara Keth watched her children with pride as they helped build a better galaxy. Her mission to restore human genetic heritage had succeeded beyond her wildest dreams. Not only had humanity reclaimed its birthright, but the entire galaxy had been freed from genetic oppression. "The purification is complete," she told Lisa as they stood together on Earth, watching ships from dozens of species arriving for the first free galactic assembly. All peoples can now become what they were meant to be. What happens next? Lisa asked. Zaraketh smiled as she felt the mental presence of millions of awakened beings across the galaxy. Now we explore what we can accomplish when no one holds us back from our true potential. The age of suppression was over. The age of awakening had begun.